The Memory Market. Part 1. The Memory Bank Teller. In a small city where life was becoming hard for everyone, there was a special place called the Memory Market. Here, people could sell their memories for money. This might sound strange, but things had changed a lot in the city. Prices for food, water, and even electricity were rising every day. Many people couldn't even afford the basics. They needed money to survive, and some found an answer in selling their memories. The Memory Market was a large, quiet building in the middle of the city. It looked like a normal bank from the outside, but inside, it was different. The walls were covered with photos of happy families, smiling children, and beautiful places. These weren't just pictures. They were memories people had sold. The people who worked there were called memory bank tellers. Their job was to help people decide which memories to sell and how much they were worth. One of these tellers was a woman named Jennifer. Jennifer was gentle and kind-hearted. She had been working at the Memory Market for almost 5 years. Every day, she saw people coming in with sad faces, ready to sell some of their happiest moments just to make enough money to get by. Jennifer felt sorry for them. She often thought about how hard it must be to give up a happy memory just for money, but she knew that some people didn't have a choice. Her job was to guide them and help them understand what each memory meant. One rainy morning, Jennifer arrived at the Memory Market. She opened the doors and got ready for the day. She sat at her desk, waiting for the first person to come in. Soon, an elderly woman named Mrs. Rivera walked in. Mrs. Rivera was a regular at the bank. She was thin, with tired eyes and hands that shook slightly. Jennifer greeted her with a soft smile. "Hello, Mrs. Rivera," Jennifer said. "How can I help you today?" Mrs. Rivera sighed and sat down. "I don't want to do this, Jennifer," she said, her voice trembling. "But I have no choice. I can't afford my medicine anymore. I need the money." Jennifer nodded, understanding. She knew Mrs. Rivera didn't have family to help her. She looked over at Mrs. Rivera's file and saw the list of memories she had sold in the past. It wasn't a long list, but each memory was precious. A birthday celebration, her wedding day, and even the memory of holding her newborn daughter for the first time. "What memory would you like to sell today?" Jennifer asked gently. Mrs. Rivera hesitated. She reached into her bag and took out an old photo of her daughter as a child, laughing under the sun in a park. "This one," she whispered, her voice breaking. "The day my little girl first learned to ride a bike. She was so happy. I remember her laughter. But I need the money." Jennifer's heart sank. She didn't want Mrs. Rivera to lose such a beautiful memory. But it was her job to help people, even if it was hard. "I understand, Mrs. Rivera," Jennifer said, her voice filled with sympathy. "Let's review the memory, and we'll see what we can offer you." Jennifer placed her hand over a device on her desk. The device could scan memories and show them on a small screen. Mrs. Rivera closed her eyes, and Jennifer gently guided her to think about the memory. Soon, an image appeared on the screen. A little girl, smiling wide, her arms stretched out as she balanced on a small bicycle. The sun was shining, and the trees in the park were bright green. The memory was beautiful, full of warmth and happiness. Jennifer could see how much it meant to Mrs. Rivera. But she also knew that this memory would be valuable to the bank. People often bought happy memories to experience the joy they could no longer find in their own lives. After a few moments, Jennifer spoke softly. "This memory is very precious, Mrs. Rivera. We can offer you a good amount for it. But are you sure you want to sell it?" Mrs. Rivera looked down, her hands trembling. She seemed to be struggling with the decision. Finally, she nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "I have no choice. I can't live without my medicine." Jennifer took a deep breath and processed the memory. She made sure that Mrs. Rivera would get a fair amount. But as she watched the memory slowly fade from the screen, she felt a sadness deep inside. It was as if a small piece of Mrs. Rivera's life was disappearing forever. After Mrs. Rivera left, Jennifer sat quietly at her desk. She couldn't shake the feeling that what she was doing might be wrong. Yes, she was helping people survive, but at what cost? People were losing the very memories that made them who they were. Without memories, what would they have left? As she sat there, lost in thought, the door opened again. This time, a young man named Daniel entered. He looked nervous, like he hadn't slept in days. Jennifer had seen people like him before, young, desperate, and willing to sell whatever they could to make some quick money. "Hello, Daniel," Jennifer greeted him kindly. "How can I help you?" Daniel scratched his head, looking down at his feet. I need some money," he muttered. "I lost my job, and my rent is due. I don't have much left to sell, but I have a memory I can part with." Jennifer nodded, feeling a pang of sympathy. "All right, Daniel. Let's see what you have." Daniel thought for a moment, then spoke quietly. "It's from when I was a kid. My dad took me fishing by the lake. We didn't catch anything, but we laughed a lot. It was a good day." Jennifer could see how hard it was for Daniel to give up this memory. She guided him to think about the moment, and soon the scene appeared on the screen. A young boy and his father, sitting by a peaceful lake, laughing together. The boy looked so happy. His face lit up with joy. Jennifer felt her heart ache. She knew that memories like these were rare and precious. They were moments of pure happiness that people carried with them, even through hard times. After the process was complete, Jennifer handed Daniel the money. He looked at it with a mixture of relief and sadness, then quietly left the bank. When he was gone, Jennifer felt an emptiness in her heart. She couldn't help but wonder how long this could go on. How many more people would come to sell their happiest moments just to survive another day? And how many more memories would be lost forever? As the day went on, more and more people came to the memory market, each with their own story, their own memories, and their own sacrifices. And with each one, Jennifer's doubt grew stronger. Was there any memory too precious to sell? With a heavy heart, she watched the memories fade. knowing that the people who sold them would never remember those moments again. The question lingered in her mind. Could she ever make the choice to give up one of her own precious memories if she had to? And if she did, which one would she choose? Part 2. The Secret Room. The days at the memory market passed slowly for Jennifer. Every day, she saw more people coming to sell their memories. Some were young, some were old, but they all shared the same look in their eyes. A look of sadness and struggle. Jennifer felt trapped. Her job, which she had once thought was about helping people, now felt more like taking pieces of their souls. She would go home each night feeling empty, haunted by the memories she had seen disappear. One night, as she lay in bed, she wondered if there was anything she could do to make things better. She thought of Mrs. Rivera and Daniel and all the others who had given up memories just to make it through another month. The next morning, Jennifer arrived at the memory market with a strange feeling. It was quiet in the bank, with only a few people waiting in line. She sat at her desk, preparing for the day's work, when her manager, Mr. Bennett, approached her. He was an older man with a serious face and deep lines around his eyes. "Jennifer," he said in his calm, steady voice, "I'd like to talk to you. Can you come to my office for a moment?" Jennifer felt a small pang of worry. She hadn't done anything wrong, as far as she knew, but Mr. Bennett rarely called her to his office. She nodded and followed him down the long hallway to a door she had never noticed before. It was marked simply with the words, "Authorized personnel only." Mr. Bennett unlocked the door, and they entered a dimly lit room filled with shelves. Each shelf was lined with small glass containers, and inside each container was a swirling, colorful mist. Jennifer's eyes widened as she looked around. She recognized these as the stored memories of people who had come to the bank. She had always assumed the memories were erased and gone forever, but here they were, carefully preserved. "This is incredible," she whispered, staring at the shelves. Mr. Bennett nodded, watching her closely. "These are the memories we buy," he explained. "They are not destroyed, as many people think. We keep them here, stored safely, in case they are ever needed again." Jennifer felt a mix of surprise and confusion. "But why? Why keep them?" Mr. Bennett's face softened a bit, and he led her to a smaller room at the back, where there was only a single chair and a screen. He motioned for her to sit down. "Some memories," he said quietly, "are worth more than others. Some have a value that goes beyond money. The bank is very careful with these memories. We watch them. We analyze them. And sometimes we sell them back to other people." Jennifer's heart skipped a beat. "You mean people can buy other people's memories?" "Yes," he answered calmly. "We have clients who are willing to pay a lot of money to experience happiness, even if it isn't their own. For some, it's the only way to feel joy again." Jennifer stared at him in shock. The idea of someone else living another person's memories felt strange and wrong. She thought of Mrs. Rivera's memory of her daughter riding a bike. Was someone else now living that moment, feeling the joy that rightfully belonged to Mrs. Rivera? Mr. Bennet continued, sensing her discomfort. Jennifer, I know it's hard to understand, but this is a business. People are willing to pay for happiness, even if it's borrowed. And in a way, we're giving them a chance to experience something they can't find on their own. Jennifer tried to understand his reasoning, but a part of her felt deeply uneasy. She thought of the people who sold their memories, not knowing they would be stored and sold to someone else. She looked at Mr. Bennet with a serious expression. Do they know? Do the people who sell their memories know that others will live those moments? She asked. Mr. Bennet's face grew serious. No, Jennifer. They don't. And it's better that way. If they knew, they might never sell them, and then we wouldn't be able to help those who are truly desperate for money. Jennifer felt a chill run down her spine. This place she had thought was a safe space for people to find help was now starting to feel like a hidden world of secrets. She looked around the room at the rows of memories, now feeling an ache for all those who had lost pieces of their lives without truly understanding what they were giving up. I don't know if I can keep doing this, Jennifer murmured, feeling overwhelmed. It doesn't feel right. Mr. Bennet put a gentle hand on her shoulder. Think about it, Jennifer. Every job has its hard truths, but we are helping people in a way that no one else can. If we don't buy these memories, then people like Mrs. Rivera and Daniel will have no way to survive. We give them a chance. Jennifer nodded slowly, feeling a conflict deep inside. Part of her wanted to leave the memory market and never look back. But another part felt the weight of Mr. Bennet's words. People did need help, and for some, this was their only option. Over the next few days, Jennifer's work felt different. Each time she processed a memory, she couldn't stop thinking about the fact that it would be kept, stored, and eventually sold. The faces of the people who came to her haunted her at night. Their memories filled her dreams, and she started waking up feeling heavy and sad. One evening, Jennifer decided she needed answers. She couldn't ignore her feelings anymore. She stayed late at the memory market, waiting for the building to empty. Once everyone was gone, she returned to the room where the memories were stored. She walked down the rows of shelves, gazing at the swirling colors inside each glass container. Each one held a story, a moment of happiness, or love, or laughter. Her fingers brushed one container, and she felt a strange pull. She looked at the label, and her heart skipped a beat. It was Mrs. Rivera's memory, the day her daughter learned to ride a bike. Without thinking, Jennifer carefully removed the container and took it to the small viewing room at the back. She sat down in the chair and held the container close, her hands trembling. She wanted to understand what it felt like to experience someone else's memory. Slowly, she placed the container into the machine and closed her eyes. Suddenly, she was there, standing in a sunny park. She saw a little girl, laughing as she balanced on a small bike. She felt the warmth of the sun on her face, the sound of the girl's laughter filling her heart with joy. Jennifer could feel the happiness that Mrs. Rivera must have felt, a pure and simple joy. But then, as the memory faded, Jennifer felt a deep sadness, as if she had taken something that didn't belong to her. She felt the weight of Mrs. Rivera's love for her daughter, the years of memories that this woman now no longer had. Tears filled Jennifer's eyes as she opened them, her heart aching. In that moment, Jennifer knew she couldn't keep working in the memory market the way she had been. She needed to find a way to change things, to help people without taking away what mattered most to them. She thought about all the people who had come through those doors, each one carrying a piece of their heart that they would never see again. She didn't have a plan yet, but she knew one thing for sure. She couldn't just sit back and watch as people lost their happiest moments. She would find a way to help them without making them give up their memories. As she left the building that night, Jennifer felt a sense of purpose growing inside her. She didn't know what she would do, but she was determined to make a difference. And maybe, just maybe, she would find a way to give those memories back to the people they truly belong to. Part 3. The Promise of Hope. The following days at the memory market felt different for Jennifer. She could no longer ignore what she had discovered. Each time a customer came to her desk, she saw more than their worn clothes and tired faces. She saw their stories, their precious moments, now at risk of becoming someone else's escape or fantasy. But she kept calm, working quietly, waiting for the right moment to act. One afternoon, as she was processing a transaction, Jennifer noticed Daniel, the young man who had sold his memory of dancing with his sister. He looked even more tired and broken than before, and he avoided her eyes as he approached her desk. "Daniel," Jennifer said softly, leaning forward, "is everything okay?" He glanced around nervously. I need to sell another memory," he whispered, his voice shaking. "I can't make rent this month. It's just one more memory, and I'll be okay." Jennifer felt her heart ache. She knew that each time he sold a memory, he lost more than just a moment. He lost part of who he was. The memories he was selling weren't just images or stories. They were pieces of his identity, his connections to the people he loved. "Are you sure?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Daniel nodded, his eyes clouded with sadness. "I don't have a choice." Jennifer looked at the form in front of her, hesitating. "Daniel, I don't think you should do this. There must be another way." He gave her a bitter smile. "If there was, I'd be doing it." Jennifer knew she couldn't stop him. Not yet. She processed his memory, feeling the weight of his choice. As she handed him his payment, she made him a quiet promise. "I'll find a way to help you, Daniel," she whispered. "One day, you'll get these memories back." He looked at her, a glimmer of hope in his eyes, but he didn't say anything. He simply nodded, tucked the money into his pocket, and walked away. That evening, Jennifer stayed late again. Sitting alone in the storage room, surrounded by the glass containers of memories. She had been coming here every night, trying to understand the system, searching for a way to break free from the rules that bound her. Finally, she made a decision. If she couldn't change the system from the outside, she would do it from within. She would work quietly, in secret, and find a way to return these memories to their rightful owners. The next day, Jennifer met with Maya, a friend from her childhood who worked as a researcher in neurology. Maya had always been fascinated by the human mind and memory, and Jennifer knew she could trust her. They met at a small cafe far from the bank, where they could talk without fear of being overheard. As they sipped their coffee, Jennifer explained everything: the memory storage, the resale to the wealthy, and her plan to return memories to those who had lost them. Maya listened intently, her eyes wide with disbelief and shock. "I had no idea," Maya whispered. "I knew people sold memories, but I thought they were destroyed afterward. I didn't realize they were stored and sold to others." Jennifer nodded. "Neither did I until recently. I need your help, Maya. I don't know how the technology works, but you do. Can we make copies of the memories? Can we find a way to give them back without the bank knowing?" Maya thought for a moment, her fingers tapping on the table. "It's risky, Jennifer. If the bank finds out, you could lose your job. Worse, they might try to erase your own memories." Jennifer felt a chill at the thought, but she was determined. "I can't stand by and watch people lose their happiest moments. People like Daniel, like Mrs. Rivera. They deserve to keep their memories. Please, Maya, will you help me?" Maya took a deep breath and nodded. "All right. I'll help you. But we have to be careful. If we're going to do this, we need a plan." Over the next few weeks, Jennifer and Maya began working in secret. Maya researched the technology used in memory storage, finding ways to duplicate the memories without alerting the bank systems. They discovered that each memory had a unique code, a type of memory ID that linked it to its original owner. If they could access these codes, they could create copies and restore the memories to the people who had lost them. Jennifer began to smuggle out small memory containers one by one, careful not to raise suspicion. She hid them in her bag, taking them to Maya's lab late at night, where they worked together to duplicate and store them safely. It was a slow, meticulous process, but each memory they duplicated felt like a small victory. One night, as they worked on a particularly difficult memory, Jennifer glanced at Maya with concern. "Maya, do you think we're doing the right thing?" Maya looked at her friend, her expression serious but kind. "Jennifer, these people didn't just sell memories. They sold parts of their lives, moments they'll never get back. I think we're giving them something far more valuable than the money they received." Jennifer felt a surge of gratitude for Maya's support. She knew that without her friend, she couldn't have done any of this. The first memory they successfully restored was Daniel's. Jennifer waited until a quiet evening, when she was certain no one else was around, and asked him to meet her outside the memory market. "Daniel," she said softly, holding out the small glass container with his memory, "this is yours." He looked at her in confusion, not understanding. What do you mean?" "This is the memory you sold. I managed to get it back. It's the night you danced with your sister." Daniel stared at the container, his eyes wide with disbelief. You got it back? But how?" Jennifer shook her head. "It doesn't matter how. What matters is that it's yours. And I'm giving it back to you." Daniel took the container from her hands, his fingers trembling. He looked at Jennifer with a mixture of gratitude and wonder, his voice choked with emotion. "Thank you, Jennifer. I don't know how to thank you." Jennifer smiled softly. "Just hold on to it, Daniel. Don't let it go again." He nodded, wiping a tear from his cheek as he held the container close. Jennifer felt a deep satisfaction, knowing that she had given him back a piece of his life, a piece of his happiness. As she walked home that night, Jennifer felt a renewed sense of purpose. She knew that what she was doing was risky, that if the memory market ever found out, the consequences would be severe. But she also knew that this was the right thing to do. She was no longer just a teller in the memory market. She was a protector of memories, a guardian of people's most precious moments. In the days that followed, Jennifer continued her work quietly. She met with more of her past clients, returning memories one by one, seeing the joy and relief on their faces as they received back pieces of their lives. Word began to spread slowly, and soon, people who had once thought their memories were lost forever started coming to Jennifer, hoping for a miracle. And Jennifer, with Maya's help, was determined to give them just that. But as she restored more memories, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. She noticed small things: a glance from Mr. Bennett, a question from a colleague, a flicker in the security cameras. She knew that her secret might not stay hidden for long. Despite the risk, Jennifer pressed on, driven by the belief that some memories were too precious to be bought or sold. She was prepared to face whatever came next, as long as it meant that people like Daniel and Mrs. Rivera could hold onto their happiest moments. But deep down, Jennifer knew that the memory market wouldn't stay silent forever. The walls were closing in, and soon, she would have to make the hardest decision of her life. Part 4: A Race Against Time. Jennifer's quiet rebellion was spreading faster than she'd imagined. The word had leaked from one former customer to another, a memory bank teller who could bring lost memories back. Jennifer had started with just a few people, cautiously returning their memories. But now, more were coming to her than she could handle alone. Despite her careful efforts to stay under the radar, Jennifer noticed strange shifts around the memory market. Her supervisor, Mr. Bennett, was watching her more closely, and Jennifer felt his eyes on her as she worked each day. She noticed small things too: a change in the surveillance cameras, and a tightening of the security protocols around the memory storage room. It was as if the memory market sensed something unusual and was closing in. One afternoon, Jennifer's friend Maya reached out to her, visibly anxious. "Jennifer," she whispered urgently, pulling her into a quiet corner of the cafe they often met at. "I think someone's on to us." Jennifer's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" Maya slid a small envelope across the table. "I've been getting strange emails. They're anonymous, but they're asking questions about my research on memory duplication. They're careful, but I can tell they're probing. I think the bank might be trying to figure out how you've been able to restore memories." Jennifer took a deep breath, the weight of her actions pressing down on her. "Maybe they're just suspicious. If we're careful, maybe we can—" Maya cut her off, her voice urgent. "Jennifer, If they find out, it won't just be us. They could track down everyone who's had their memory returned. They could erase their memories of ever meeting you. Jennifer's mind raced. She couldn't let the people she had helped be put at risk. She'd come too far to turn back now, and the only way forward was to continue with even more caution. She had to act fast, to help as many people as possible before the memory market shut down her quiet revolution. Determined, she spent the next few weeks working relentlessly. She coordinated with Maya, who now worked almost entirely in secret, finding ways to speed up the duplication process. Jennifer found herself meeting with former customers in late night, secret locations, whispering instructions, sharing promises to keep moving forward. Each night, she felt the weight of her actions and the risk it brought. But as she watched their faces light up when their memories were restored, she knew it was worth it. One evening, Jennifer received a message she had been dreading. It was a summons from Mr. Bennett, who wanted to speak with her in his office the next day. The message was cold, formal, and as Jennifer read it, she felt a shiver run down her spine. She barely slept that night, her mind racing with possibilities. What if he knew everything? What if he was planning to fire her or worse? She knew there was no way to avoid the meeting, but as she lay awake, she began to think of a plan. Something that could protect her and Maya, as well as the people they had helped. The next morning, Jennifer dressed carefully, trying to keep her face calm despite the storm of emotions within her. She walked into the memory market, her steps steady, and headed straight for Mr. Bennett's office. He was sitting at his desk, his gaze sharp and unreadable. "Jennifer," he said, motioning for her to sit. "You've been with us for a long time, haven't you?" She nodded, forcing herself to meet his gaze. "Yes, Mr. Bennett. Almost 6 years now." He leaned back, studying her. "I've been reviewing some unusual transactions, memories that seem to have vanished from our records. Do you have any idea how that might have happened?" Jennifer's heart pounded, but she kept her face calm. "I don't, sir. Perhaps it's a technical issue." Mr. Bennett's eyes narrowed, and he leaned forward, his voice low. "I think you know exactly what's going on, Jennifer. The memory market has rules. Rules you seem to have forgotten." Jennifer clenched her hands in her lap. She knew he was testing her, waiting for her to confess. But she wouldn't give him that satisfaction. "Mr. Bennett, I've always followed the bank's procedures," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "If there's a problem, I'm sure it can be fixed." He studied her for a long moment before sighing. "Jennifer, I'll give you one chance. I know more than you think, and I have the power to erase everything. All those little memories you think you've saved. Tell me the truth, and perhaps I can find a way to keep you on here." Jennifer's stomach turned. She knew he was lying. The moment she confessed, he would use it against her, and everything she had worked for would be destroyed. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said finally, standing up. "If you need my help finding the problem, I'll be at my desk." Mr. Bennett's face darkened, but he didn't stop her. Jennifer walked out of his office, feeling his eyes burning into her back. and returned to her desk. She knew now that she was running out of time. That night, Jennifer met with Maya one last time. They agreed that it was too risky to continue, that they had to go into hiding. But Jennifer had one last plan. One final move to protect the memories she had saved. Together, they created a backup file of every memory they had restored. It was a long and complex process, but by the early hours of the morning, they had stored every memory in a hidden database, far from the memory market's reach. Jennifer knew this was her insurance, her last chance to protect the people she had helped if the memory market decided to retaliate. As dawn approached, Jennifer looked at Maya, a deep exhaustion in her eyes. "Thank you, Maya. I couldn't have done this without you." Maya gave her a tired smile. "You're not alone, Jennifer. I'll stand by you whatever happens." The next morning, Jennifer handed in her resignation. She knew that if she stayed, she would be forced to reveal everything, and she couldn't risk that. She walked out of the memory market for the last time, feeling a strange mix of fear and relief. But as she stepped out into the street, she knew this wasn't the end. She was free now, but the memory market still held the power to control people's lives, to take and sell memories without any remorse. And as long as that was true, Jennifer couldn't rest. As she disappeared into the crowd, Jennifer promised herself that she would return one day. She would find a way to take down the memory market once and for all, to give people their freedom and protect the memories that should never have been sold in the first place. The fight was far from over, but Jennifer was ready. She had found her purpose, and now she knew exactly what she had to do. Part 5: The Final Memory. Months passed after Jennifer left the memory market. Life outside felt both freeing and uncertain, but she knew it was only the beginning of her fight. Jennifer and Maya had settled into a quiet, hidden life, working behind the scenes to expose the truth about the memory market. Together, they gathered testimonies, recorded evidence, and even managed to contact former employees who were willing to talk. Slowly, they built a case strong enough to challenge the bank's power. One evening, Jennifer received a surprising message from a stranger. The message was from someone named Alex, a former high-ranking executive from the memory market. He claimed he had once believed in the memory market's mission, to help people fund their lives by selling memories. But over time, he'd seen the darker side of their work. Families torn apart, people left with gaps in their minds, unable to remember the faces of loved ones or even simple joys. He was ready to help Jennifer, but he warned her that time was running out. The bank was getting desperate, and it was only a matter of time before they would make a move against her. Jennifer felt a rush of hope. If they could work with someone from the inside, they might finally have a chance to bring down the memory market once and for all. She agreed to meet with Alex, and that night, under the cover of darkness, they gathered at a small cafe on the edge of town. Alex was a quiet man with tired eyes, and Jennifer could see the toll his work had taken on him. "You're doing something brave, Jennifer," he said, "but they won't let you win easily." Jennifer nodded, knowing the risks all too well. "I can't turn back now. Too many people have been hurt by the memory market. We have to do this, Over the next few weeks, they devised a plan. Alex revealed that the memory market kept a secret server, hidden and protected by multiple layers of security, where they stored every memory they had ever taken. If Jennifer and Maya could access that server, they could release the stolen memories back to their original owners, and the memory market's control over people's lives would be broken. The night of the operation arrived. Jennifer, Maya, and Alex met at a small building adjacent to the memory market, which Alex had access to. They entered cautiously, moving quietly through the empty halls. The closer they got to the server room, the louder Jennifer's heart pounded. She knew if they were caught, they might never make it out, but the thought of freeing all those memories kept her focused. Once they reached the server room, Alex quickly unlocked the door and guided them inside. The server hummed, and Jennifer could feel its power, like it was alive with all the memories it held. They quickly got to work, Maya handling the code while Jennifer and Alex stood guard. As Maya worked, Jennifer's mind wandered to the people she had helped. The mother who could remember her child's laughter, the old man who could recall his wife's smile, and countless others who had been able to reclaim pieces of their lives. These were the memories that the memory market could never truly own. They were more than just transactions. They were pieces of humanity. Suddenly, an alarm blared, breaking the silence. Jennifer's heart skipped a beat, and she looked to Alex, who was already moving to lock the door. "We're out of time," he whispered urgently. "They know we're here." Maya looked up from her work, panic in her eyes. "I just need a few more minutes. I'm almost done." Jennifer nodded, taking a deep breath. "We'll hold them off. Just finish the upload." Footsteps echoed in the hallway, getting closer. Jennifer's pulse raced, but she stood her ground. Alex and Jennifer braced themselves by the door, hoping to buy Maya enough time to complete the upload. As the footsteps grew louder, Jennifer thought of every person she had helped, every memory that deserved to be free. She knew this was their only chance. Finally, Maya's voice broke the tension. "It's done," she shouted. "The memories are uploading back to their rightful owners." Relief flooded through Jennifer, but they weren't safe yet. The door burst open, and memory market security guards rushed in. Alex stepped forward, holding up his hands. "Stop! I'm an executive." "Let them go." The guards hesitated, confusion flickering in their eyes. Alex turned to Jennifer and Maya, giving them a silent nod. Jennifer understood immediately. He was buying them time to escape. She grabbed Maya's arm, pulling her toward the back exit they had scoped out earlier. As they ran, Jennifer felt a pang of guilt for leaving Alex behind, but she knew he had made his choice. They slipped out into the cold night, the lights of the memory market fading behind them. The next morning, Jennifer and Maya waited anxiously, watching the news. Reports flooded in. People were remembering. Memories of family, friends, and life events were returning to those who had sold them, bringing back lost pieces of their lives. Social media was filled with stories of joy, disbelief, and tears as people shared their experiences. The memory market was in chaos. Customers demanded answers, and the company faced a wave of public outrage. Jennifer knew the bank would try to recover, but they had lost their greatest asset, people's trust. Without that, they could no longer control the memories that had once given them so much power. Jennifer and Maya stayed hidden, watching from afar as their plan unfolded. They knew they couldn't return to their old lives, but they didn't mind. They had set people free, and for Jennifer that was worth everything. Months later, Jennifer received a small envelope in the mail. Inside was a single photograph of a man she didn't recognize at first. But as she looked closer, she realized it was Alex, smiling with a woman and 2 young children. There was no note, only the photograph, but Jennifer knew what it meant. Alex had escaped, too. He had found his own freedom, just as they had helped others find theirs. As Jennifer tucked the photograph away, she felt a deep sense of peace. She had done what she set out to do. The memories that had once been trapped in the memory market were now back with the people who deserved them most, and the world was a little brighter because of it. Jennifer knew that life would never be easy, but she was content. She had given people back their stories, their joy, their humanity, and in the end, that was the most precious memory of all.